Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time here. Got a lot to do on this old truck this morning. First things first, we're going to relocate the battery to the factory spot for trucks that had dual batteries. Also, this banks for the gas trucks does not have the super scoop. We're going to be adding a scoop down here and sealing the box off to get the IATs under control. That'll be a separate video. This one, we're getting to work on moving this battery. I've already disconnected it and taken the hold down off. If you're curious, you don't know, little 8mm wrench takes the factory ends off. That's your hold down, of course. And yeah, 13mm socket, which coincidentally we'll need for that to remove that. I've got my 10mm to get rid of this brace because we're not going to put that back. I don't really see a point to it. We'll get it out of there. And again, we're not going to replace that one over there either. What did I do for cables? Well, I like to scrounge stuff from the junkyard. If you've been here before, you know that. I had a couple of good used cables like what comes on these trucks. So I'm going to reuse them because I know they work, they're the right gauge, etc. There's a lug right here before it crosses over. That's all I did for modification. It was somewhere in here. I cut this off, taped it up real good, then slid the convoluted tubing and taped it up again. That'll route down along the firewall to the starter. I may, well, more than likely we'll have to use some 8L clamps to keep it up off the headers and exhaust from burning. And the ground, that'll go to the back of the cylinder head. So with that said, let me quit yapping, get set up on the tripod here, and we'll start putting in some work and getting this moving along. Got it right the first time. Let me know in the comments, would you keep this brace? I don't really think it's going to do much in an impact. It's just this little thin piece here. So, not that it's going to be a huge weight loss, but I don't really see the point in putting extra stuff back. Put a long enough bolt here. All right, time for the battery to come out. Jesus. You'd think in a late model truck, certain areas wouldn't be so cramped, but here we are. All right, now that that's out of the way, what am I going to do about these cables? Well, I'm going to leave them for now. We're going to make sure everything runs and works as it should. In case it doesn't, I can put the battery back. I don't really think I have trouble. I may clean these up and tape them up real good and just leave them, period. Don't doing a long trip somewhere out of town, it might not be bad to have a second battery plopped in here for said trip, so we're not waiting for AAA or something with a dead battery. All right, moving right along here, we're gonna get rid of this brace and drop the battery in to its new home. Yeah, we don't need this extension. All right, none of them are going back. Move everybody back a little bit here so I can get in here. There we go, like a glove. Reusing our hold down and the bolt from the other side. All right, so that's that. My next task is going to be getting the truck up in the air so we can undo the battery cable over there from the starter. Well, get the nut off so I can slide this other cable on with them. I need to find a bolt to go in the back of the cylinder head over there so I can mount my ground cable for the negative. And once we do that, we'll get everything hooked back up, make sure she starts and charging, and we'll move on from there. All right, sit tight. I'm gonna go ahead and source that stuff and get moving along here. All right, we're back, and as you can see, it isn't tight at the battery connection, but I've got it on there. It routes down. Here, had a factory clip. There was a hole in the fender, so I put that clip in. Comes back around. You can see the heat wrapped, or heat tape on there. Goes to the back of the cylinder head. The bolt I used, I wanted something short so it wouldn't be hitting the firewall while I'm trying to tighten it. On the driver's side of these engines, behind the oil sending unit, there's like a short 15mm headed bolt. I went through my spare bolts, found one, worked perfect. Could I have grabbed on over there with the other ground straps and all? Probably, but there was limited room here, so it would have been even dicier over there. So Most of these I've seen done online. They go to the back of the head. So next, I'm going to jack the truck up and get to routing the positive cable. All right, stay tuned for that. All right, so we're back. Got the positive battery cable on. Had to get a little creative with routing, so it was about 8 to 10 inches longer than it needed to be. I didn't have an extra lug to crimp on there. I didn't feel like running to the store, so I creatively routed around here nicely. But you look down in there, comes down. It's right here, right next to the negative cable. I got it nice and tucked away from the headers and the exhaust system. I'll probably drop down under the truck here and show that where it tucks and all that, but right now I'm gonna do what everybody is wondering, same as me. Well, let's start. So that's all right here, and you go hit the key and make sure everything's good to go. Honestly, I've done the research. I know automotive wiring enough. It should work. So let's test that theory out, right? Right. Great success. So I didn't really have any doubts that this was going to work or not, but you know, it's YouTube, building up a little bit of drama. So that's that. As promised, I will take this off the tripod and crawl up under the truck so you can see the other routing. But I feel like if you I wouldn't recommend buying them new. They're really expensive through the auto parts stores and all. But if you go to a U-Pull It yard or maybe order some off eBay, 2 cables like what you existing already have, trim that tab off and tape it up real good, just like I said. Find a bolt for the cylinder head, and this battery tray, I'll drop a link for that. It's a Dorman piece. It's for vehicles that had dual batteries factory, either diesel trucks or some of the SUVs. And anybody with hand tools can accomplish this. I have some Milwaukee cordless, but I chose to use hand tools in a lot of cases just to prove a point that, hey, you can do this without, you know, anything special. Floor jack, probably do it on a gravel driveway. I'm half concrete, half gravel here. Would it have been easier on the lift? Sure, but yeah, that's on the lift. So, and I've still got work to do on that later today. All right, let me take it off the tripod and show you the underneath, and we'll wrap it up. All right, here's some close-up. This is for my friend Rob that wanted to see the relation of the transmission lines to the headers. I can clearly get my hand in there. So there's room. That's my transmission lines. There's the new starter cable I just ran. Tucked behind them. Come back. Still tucked behind them. Up the firewall close. You get the gist. And right here, hard to see, that's the one that goes across the front of the engine over to everything on the other side. The fuse block, the one up by the alternator that is a junction box, etc. So, and the original cable's still over there obviously too. I may chop that off at the junction block and do away with it. I may leave it, like I said, so I got the option to run a second battery if I ever want to. All right, let me get top side and we'll wrap this up. All right, so the wrap up, pretty easy job, pretty inexpensive. I don't know what I even paid for them cables. They might have just said, here, have them, when I was buying other stuff at LKQ, is our local pick and pull yard. Something I did want to note on this negative cable, there was this extra ground strap here. I was thinking about cutting it off and just like kind of taping it up, but I started looking at it and I'm like, it's got some good length. So I ran it over to here and grounded it to the core support. Extra ground isn't going to hurt anything. It's good, if anything, to have some extras. And one of the bolts that held this brace in here was the perfect size. The hole in this lug on it was a little too small. Stepper bit on the drill for a couple seconds each side, was able to get it enough where I was able to get the bolt through. So that's that. Like I said, I will drop the link below for parts I used, and that should get you where you need to be. You should be able to do this yourself, no problem. Why did I do it? To take the weight off of there and move it back here. Yes, I street drive this truck most of the time, but it should stop and handle better when I move the weight around and get it distributed better. So from side to side, I've got the steering column and fuel tank and master cylinder and booster, the fuse block, all that over there. Here I've literally had an air box and the overflow tank and some of the AC stuff. Not a lot of weight. So bringing this battery over, I think it's 40 or so-ish pounds. We just put it over here. Some people, oh, why don't you put it in the bed? Well, like, again, not a full-out drag truck. Not a drag truck at all, really. It's just something I daily drive right now, and it's eventually going to be, you know, a spare vehicle slash something I like to go out and hoon around in and play with and take to the track occasionally. So if you've hung in there with me this long, as usual, I appreciate each and every one of you. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. If you think I could have done something better, let me know. I'm open for discussion on that. All right, with that said, we'll see you next time.